But let's go to Damon Allen now, the pros pro. Damon Allen joining us from Southern Ontario. There he is. There's number 9. How you doing, Damon?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing? Sorry about that. I'm trying to get my camera together.
You look fine. You sound fine, and hang on. We're always repping Damon here, as you well know. You actually asked recently who brought that in. That was our director of scouting, Craig Smith. I guess you guys were together on the BC Lions.
Yes.
Yeah, 2000 staff, I believe.
Absolutely. Craig was an amazing person. Did a lot of things for the BC Lions during that time, and so we're still in communication today. So it's really good to, talk about him. I'm glad he gave you that.
Yep, it was Smitty that brought it in. Now, Damon, you are an ambassador for the CFL. The work you did out in the Maritimes last year, I saw it firsthand. And what a tremendous ambassador you are. But they are on tough times right now, and you've seen tough times for this league. What's your take on the state of the CFL as we sit here today?
Man, I think all sports are in very difficult times. But, with the CFL, is very crucial due to the fact because even the 23 years I played and the last 10 years watching the game, we've never been in a situation like this where the league is actually asking the government for money. So I've never seen that before, but this time around, it's understandable because we rely so much on attendance and a variety of different things like that. And we don't have the TV package like the National Football League or some other sport. But in this situation, it really comes down to, what the government was able to do to help our league so we can play this year. So I don't know the state of it. I know that the league asked for money, but we don't know the depths of, will the league continue on if it is okay to start playing this year. And so that's the insight that I don't know.
Yeah, but the fact that it's a gate-driven league, what's wrong with that? It worked, basically fine till now, where it's kind of been exposed by COVID-19. I don't think it's a bad business model per se. It just doesn't work in this climate that we're sitting in right now. How do you feel about the MP saying that Americans should not be eligible for federal aid? I can only imagine how you feel, but I got to put it to you.
Well, I think in that situation, like I said, we employed here, we work here. When you're under the contract and you have the paper of employment, you do get health care and all those benefits. So we do pay into it. So I don't think that's really an issue. I think if we're working here and some Americans that are living here, they should get all the rights as a Canadian.
Absolutely, no doubt. Now,
under the law. So, that's why you don't really have to argue that.
No, not at all. I got to ask you this. You went around and conducted those pass, punt, and kick contests all around the Maritimes there, right around Touchdown Atlantic last year. You're smiling as you said it. Obviously, you had a blast. What did those kids say to you about football out there? What were some of the things, what was the feedback you got?
Well, I got a lot of smiles, the anticipation, the joy. And I think that's where it starts from. Creating an environment and great energy to seeing the CFL come down there and play. And then on top of that, it was a really good football game as well. And so I just think that, the time we've talked about it for a number of years, this is the first commissioner that's really taken the steps forward to build our game, to add another team, to equalize the divisions from, now you have 5 teams in each. Once that happened, and not, 9. It's been 9 since I've come in the league since 1985. So, when will you start the progression and the growth and the adding on like other leagues do? So I think it was good for him. Out of the one commissioner that I've been around for those 23 seasons, is the first one that made the steps in trying to grow the league and expand it.
Did you get a sense from the people out there that they wanted a team in the Maritimes?
Of course I got because, there's football fans all across Canada. And so even though I find that it would be very similar to the way the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they're in Wisconsin, I believe, and people drive hours and 2 hours and just to go to a Packers game. So I think it's in that very situation where when they put a team in the Maritimes, people are going to be coming from all the cities that are surrounding where the team is going to be. So from St. John to Moncton and all those places, they'll be traveling to support that football team because that will be their team.
You are so close to the NFL, got a lot of friends in that league. How closely are you following that, Damon, in terms of if they're going to play? Is it going to be empty stadiums, half-full stadiums? Are they playing at all? What's your thoughts on the 4-down game?
Well, I think they're not much of the same boat far as financially because these owners and the TV package is so huge. So I mean, they don't rely so much on attendance, but I mean, it's very difficult, like any sport, to play the game with no fans in it. So I mean, that's part of the game is fans. And so when you remove the fans, you're going to see a lot of practice games in a sense, inter squad games, and it's not like many of the players who've never been in that situation as well. We've been in scrimmages before in high school, university, so. We'll adapt, but professionally and what we're used to, I mean, even in high school and Pop Warner, we're used to playing in front of people. So that will be the difference and how you go about doing that. And so those are the things you have to wait for, be patient about if you want to restart the league. But we got to be more detailed than ever before on how we're going to conduct sports and how we're going to go back to doing business again. And so details are really important. Until we hear those details and how it's going to be, then you really don't have, you can speculate what's should happen. Yes, we're going to have no fans, but how about the other pieces? What else is going to be on the field? Are the cameras going to be on the field? And is it only the players and the coaches? And so there's a dynamic there that not only the CFL has to deal with, but the National Football League and all sports across the world.
Here's one for you. Here's one. We all know players that were practice all-stars, but when the lights came on, they disappeared or they melted. Maybe this is the time for those guys.
Absolutely. This might be the time, and the play, the football play might be even better because the scoreboard doesn't turn on. There's just something about the scoreboard. When the scoreboard clicks on, them lights are on, it keeps score. So without the scoreboard on, or even in the daytime, you can't see the lights on the scoreboard. It may ease some of the guys that can't perform, but are really great practice players. And so that would be very interesting too, to see if there's more superstars on the field than normal.
Like I said, Canton's going to get a lot bigger with these practice legends. Damon, by the way, here's the thing. You've been doing these Instagram live interviews, and I said to producer Clark, we're going to get Damon on because he's doing Instagram live stuff like every night. Can you talk about some of the guys you've had on and what you guys have been talking about?
Well, it's unique that I call it the whole 9 yards, which that title is going to be the name of my book as well. And so it means everything. You're sharing everything. And so when I started it, I realized, I said, I have a Rolodex of guys that play in the NFL, all sports. And why don't I just start interviewing these guys during the quarantine to allow people to really get to know who they are and what their journey is about. So I want to know everything. Whoever I interview, I want to know complete everything, all the stories, the journey, and all those things. And so it's actually been pretty good. I've been doing it every Thursday. And it's been pretty cool. Nate Pedersen was my last guy. I'm not sure. He played 11 years in the National Football League, but I'm not sure if you knew he was born in Canada.
I looked into that because he hosts NFL. What is it? Good Morning Football. So I looked up his bio. Yeah, what's it? Did you know him before he was in the league?
No, I didn't know him before he was in the league, but I knew of him. I watched him play and those things. But I know his dad played for the Calgary Stampeders for 6 years, Al Pedersen, and he was born in Calgary. And so that's information, like saying, when you look at and start to interview these guys, I want to know their journey and see if their journey is very similar to mine, or the things that a lot of people don't know about him. They get a chance to, I get a chance to ask those questions, not the norm question. You can see barely we talk about the sport that they actually play, but it's more of the interest, what drove them, how they get started, and those things. And so, eventually what I'm working on too is, my brother coming on, potentially Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott, guys that I know, but they're amazing individuals. They do a lot of things out off the field, but they're amazing football players as well. And so I try to look for those stories.
Nick Lewis has written in. Nick's watching right now. He says, the stories are great on your show. John Olm in Winnipeg writes in. He says, I need to check out DA's show on Thursday. It's the whole 9 yards. Thursdays on Instagram Live with Damon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so my Instagram
is
Damon Allen 9.
Yeah, give him a follow. Damon, always a treat. You're with us every day, my man. Stay safe out there.
That's a pretty good team there with me on it.
It's a winning team. Thanks, Damon.
Yeah. Thank you.
Damon Allen checking in from Toronto.
You're watching Rod Pedersen on demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.